Elin McCoy. She has written in just about everything known to mankind. Currently, she writes for the Bloomberg News and the Bloomberg Newswire. But before that, House Beautiful, Las Vegas Life, Shattered, and Drink. She has definitely put her written word on everything you can around the world. So at this point, Elin, welcome to the Wine Crush Radio Show.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
Elin, this is a joy. Anytime I get someone who is patient enough to sit down and actually write something instead of running their mouth, it is a joy.
Well, I think that the hardest is when you actually spend the time to write a book, which, and my last book on Robert Parker, The Emperor of Wine, took me 3 years. So I was sitting for quite a lot of that time.
I can definitely understand that. But see, the good news about writing is all of a sudden you don't have to look at your words hanging in the air and think, did I really just say that out loud? That's the always
true.
Good thing about having an edit button. Well, it's a delight to have you on the Crush. God knows that you have definitely looked at so many wine from so many different ways. You would be a good person. We were talking in an earlier segment about predictions for 2010 and what we look ahead for in the next decade. So with your vast experience in the world of wine, what do you see fun ahead? What do you see coming in the next decade?
I see a lot of really, really interesting trends. And one of them is affordability. That has become, during this past year, during 2009, the sort of watchword in the wine industry. Wines from $50 and up are, I think, going to continue to have a really, really difficult time succeeding in the marketplace unless they're so unbelievably special that there's a tiny group of people who will buy them. But what this means is that all those people that are making $50 wines and up, the only way that they, especially the Americans, that they can figure out a way to not sort of lower their brand, if you will, is to siphon off some of that wine and create a lower priced label. So I think what people should be looking for in 2010 is well-known wine names, winery names, who suddenly start a line or a few wines in their portfolio that sell for a great deal less, but have a different they're a different line within that same brand.
So you're talking about we're going to see more second labels like Hawk's Crest from Stag's Leap,
yeah,
like Tunnel of Elms from Behringer.
Yeah, I think so. And even, for example, I've just recently been in Chile right before the holidays, and one wine really stood out at me that's going to be available in the next month or so, and that's in a single vineyard series that Errazes. That's such a hard name to say, so I'm going to spell it for people. It's Errazuriz, Errazuriz. And they have a single vineyard designation, which just really started last year. And their 2007 Cabernet, single vineyard Cabernet, is going to be coming out, as I say, in the next month or so for $21. It's pretty hard to find a Cabernet for $21 that offers the sort of smooth, chocolatey flavors that this one does. Certainly not from California, in my opinion.
Well, I think what we're seeing now out of California is exactly what you said, talk about affordability, $50 and up. A lot of these Cabernets have dropped their prices. How are people going to justify spending $21 for a Chilean Cabernet?
How are they going to justify that?
Yes, ma'am.
As opposed to spending, what, $10 for a wine from California?
I think people tend to get comfortable when they talk about Chile, looking at whether it's Carmenere, looking at Merlot, spending, say, $15 and under. Do you think that will impact how people are looking at things because they have perceived value of Chile being less expensive?
Yes and no. I think that Chile still offers, I think, for example, the one I just described is worth double the price.
Right.
let me put it that way. I think that the whole mid-range of wines that I would say are from $12 to $25, that is where the best value in the wine market is today.
Oh, I would say under 30, absolutely, without a doubt.
Yes. But not under $12. I have found very, very few wines that I have tasted under $12 that I would really, really want to drink. Maybe a few rosés. But let me get on to a few. I agree with you that there is an issue of what people are willing to spend on from regions and countries that they consider really mostly $15 and under wines. That's one of the things that happened to Australia. And certainly it's happening to New Zealand. So will people pay $21 for a Cabernet like this? I hope so, because it offers them really twice as much value as the price. But that may be an issue. I think that the same issue is going to come up with something like Bordeaux. But there is going to be, and already is, massive Bordeaux dumping. And this is for a variety of different and interesting reasons. But what it means is that wines from the great 2005 vintage, at the lower end, in the $20, $15 to $25 range, there are huge numbers of really, really, really good wines. I think that there's another trend that we're seeing is that the natural wine movement, however you want to define that, is really going to grow even more. People are tired of hearing about adulterated wines, and so they're going to be looking not necessarily for things that are labeled organic and biodynamic, but for things that don't taste so manipulated, so concocted, so high in alcohol. I think there's been a movement away from those things, from the idea of high alcohol wines, and I see that getting stronger in the year ahead.
I certainly hope so. We are definitely looking for wines to stand on. We talked about that last show about family winemakers making sure that their ground and their brand spoke for themselves. Well, Elin, thank you very much for being part of the Wine Crush and sharing some of your upcoming ideas for 2010. I encourage all of our listeners, check out Elin and, of course, her book, The Emperor of Wine, The Rise of Robert M. Parker and the Reign of American Taste.
Well, thanks so much. I really appreciate being on.
All right.
Fun. Thanks.
Have a great day.
Bye.
All right. When we come back, we're going to be wrapping up this segment, putting everything together, and, of course, toasting the first